Music and the Hermetic tradition, a brief survey of its music. What is Hermeticism? The adjective Hermeticist, derived from the noun Hermeticism, refers to a form of traditional Western urban and learned and humanist occultism. This occultism is distinct from folk, popular, or religious devotional forms of magic, which also occur in the West as well as in other cultures and societies. It is also distinct from other Western occult movements that are either revivalists in their inspiration, such as Wicca or neopagan religions, or related to the pop culture of the last quarter of the 20th century, such as the movements of New Age and Chaos Magick.
Music has a long tradition with Hermeticism. There are two types of music in the Hermetic tradition, musica speculativa and musica practica. Musica speculativa suggests that music, as it understands today, is the only tangible form of the metaphysical music ruling human interactions and ordering the cosmos. Musica practica was a formal Latin term that referred to music as a practical art as opposed to the speculative character traditionally associated with the idea of musica as one of the liberal arts. Music through the Hermetic tradition is also deeply rooted in the Pythagorean tradition, the Pythagorean school, cosmos and number, and its effect on the body and soul, added to which we also have music in the Hermetic tradition, which is comparative to alchemy, such as an example of pseudo-zosimos on the making of gold. The Pythagorean tradition of Hermetic music is based on the set of four numbers, a tetrachord which generates all modes and melodies. Alchemy and its four elements introduced the idea of the primordial egg. Speculative music, the worldview of Pythagorean. Listen to the examples of fugues of practical music in symbolic form.
Speaking of numbers and comparing numbers, arithmetic and music through the Hermetic tradition and its pure qualities, music through its proportions, comparing to another, harmonious to inharmonious or discordant. These are the sciences of proportions. We are now linking astrology with music. Johann Kepler was a scientist who believed in the harmonious zodiac circles and the spheres, analogous to stretching a straight line like a string, creating a monochord, octave, a perfect fifth, and a perfect fourth. The 12 keys align with the 12 symbols of the zodiac, and judging its compatibilities of the signs or tones or keys, are they harmonious? We can judge the possible effects of astrological qualities of existing pieces. Kepler's goal was the discovery of a cosmic harmony. For example, a key associated with one of the zodiac signs, if one's theory has determined that the key of E flat corresponds to Sagittarius and to its ruler, Jupiter, this may account for the character of pieces written in that key. And let's not forget Newton and his idea of colors in the spectrum of light that represent a musical scale. A universe based on the law of correspondences also relate to astrology and the zodiac signs. Now let's feast our ears on some notable operas that were done in the Hermetic tradition, such as Piero Caccini, Monteverdi's famous Orfeo, the myth of Orpheus and the planetary incarnations, and John Baptist Lully.
Age
Speaking of opera, we'll stay with a very famous opera by Mozart called The Magic Flute and its use of symbolism and the number 3. There seems to be a constant reference to Masonic symbolism in the actual configuration of rhythmic and melodic construction of motives and themes, not only in the libretto, as well as principal keys and other essential musical ideas. Also notable in the opera, The Magic Flute by Mozart, is a significant repetitive reference to the number 3 in the opera, which is very significant in the Masonic tradition. Examples abound, for example, the 3 doors at the temple or the 3 initiatory trials, and so on. It is very clear to us that Mozart was definitely using the number 3 in his score to symbolically connect with this number so significant in the Masonic tradition. And finally, we will now turn our attention to one of the most significant composers within the Hermetic tradition, Arnold Schoenberg of the Viennese school. His alchemic structure of 12 tones was derived from a novel. This piece we're going to listen to is Seraphita, which also has an underlying secret structure and maybe possibly a Kabbalion influence. These secret structures are very common characteristic of 12-tone music. It's sort of imperceptible structures, which also makes it fit in with the Hermetic tradition. So I think it's safe to say that music in the Hermetic tradition is not a very vast or robust tradition. It's because of its sort of hidden meaning and secret structures that underline the music. It's very hard for people to discern these kind of secret structures without having to have read the Hermetic texts. The other thing about music and Hermetic tradition, one thing they might share is sort of a deep meaning and sort of reflections within the cosmos, sort of a mind, body, soul, holistic approach to understanding the universe. It's also that search for deeper meaning within the cosmos and our lives that music and Hermeticism shares with it. But ultimately, I think the goal is, however, the same in many respects, but it's also very divergent. It does base its ideas on transformative, like alchemy, in the case of Schoenberg and his alchemic underlying 12-tone rose that he uses in his music. I think the problem is inherent in Hermeticism and music is that composers or historians or ethnomusicologists will try to search for underlying secret structures that might exist within the music, but it doesn't really actually exist. It might exist mostly in the mind of the scholar who's searching for it. For example, in Bach's music, he uses numbers, lots of numbers. Sure, there may be numbers there that are being used in music because that's what music is derived from, is numbers. But is there a sort of pattern that emerges that is intentional or unintentional by the composer? Probably not. But if one were inclined to look for patterns and say, for example, War and Peace, you might actually find what you're looking for. You might actually find patterns. Another example would be Bible codes. People claim that within the Bible there are codes that you can discern people's zip codes. But do they actually exist there? I think they mostly exist in the mind of the person who set out to look for patterns in War and Peace or in Schoenberg's music, or maybe looking for patterns in Bach's music and looking for patterns in the Bible and finding a Bible code. I think it's just all in the eye of the searcher. I think what I'm saying is that it's more based on someone's belief. Carl Jung's famous experiment with astrology. People who believe in something get more confirmation, even from seemingly impartial data, than people who do not. Well, that concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for coming out, guys, and thanks for watching. And feel free to make a small contribution to the channel. That's it for this week's video. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.